Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. So today's video I'm going to be working again on my primitive rabbit. So I grabbed my piece, I've got my fabric and I've got some doily elements that I want to sort of have a look at and see if I can create some flowery shapes out of them. But firstly, look, I've stitched the back, the front to the back. So I just need to do a little bit of surgery. I finished stitching it and popped it on the bench where I lay out my work and thought, oh, it's all puckered. Why is that caught? And then realised that I'd caught the fabric in the stitch. A stitch in the fabric caught to the back is what I'm trying to say. Goodness me. So what did I end up finishing off? All of my applique elements are stitched down, so they are in. Now a few of you asked, what about these circles? You're going straight over the top of them. They will all iron out. So it's the friction. This is for the newbies. So for the rest of you that know all about this pen, go and grab yourself a biscuit, cup of coffee, cup of tea. Friction heat erasable pens, now available just about everywhere. I remember when these were just at quilt shops. Roll forward 18 months and they're at most stationery places, everywhere. It's just even a little news agency. So Pilot is the mother brand and they are huge. So now you can get these in packs of colours, you can buy them singly and they pretty much iron out. But just be wary that they do leave behind a residue on some fabrics. I can just see it. A wash would get rid of it, but if you're not washing your piece, maybe just keep that in the back of your mind. I was talking to a lady 12 months ago who had created a beautiful piece, put it under glass, framed it, and then when it went into an air-conditioned room, some of the lines came back, she could see them, so she was pretty devastated. So just be mindful that depending on where you live and the environment, they might show up again. But so far I'm happy with it. I haven't had any issues. You just hear these stories every so often and you think, oh, must be light with my touch. Like, don't be really heavy-handed. That means you're putting a lot of the ink and the chemical that holds the ink there, that is the heat erasable component, is going into your fabric. So just be light with your touch. Okay, so what I want to do today, I still need to work out what I'm doing in the centers of my flowers, but I want to have a look through these and see if there's some potential flowery elements that could be used. Oh, I like that one. To create additional flowers. Definitely, you're a goer. And I need to stay within the tones of this piece. Like things like that are just not going to work. So they've got to be off-white. I think he's a definite. I think this one here. Yeah, I think I might try and cut that out to make more of a daisy. Don't know, this one might be too small if I was to take the flower out. I might leave him for a moment. That's beautiful as it is. And it could be smaller, but I think that's too small. If I was doing a little garden or something, you could go right down to this little guy. But I think he's good. Now let's have a look at this other tray. So these are just two, here we go, back to the newbies that asked me all the questions. This is just a storage tray. I think it's like, the brand is Oats. Now in Australia, that's all cleaning products. So I have a feeling this was like a bathroom accessory tray with two drawers. And ages ago, I started collecting these crocheted blankets and table runners, and then I would cut up that's a bit bigger one, cut up the pieces, sort of group them all in a little stack and then put them in this little tray. and it's really handy. So I can just grab the tray, do a little bit of placement or work. There's some little ones. And then slide it back into the bigger tray. And they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. And this one's a definite handmade one by someone, because I can feel the coarser cordage or yarn they use to crochet it. Now, if you're a crocheter, you could make these. They'd be so pretty. I think these are going to be too small. These are the little bits that connect the bigger bits. So those there, see that point and that point may have connected to that point and that point. And then they bring in the next piece and connect it like that. You see how it sort of all comes together to make a bigger tablecloth, and I just separate them. People often ask, do they fray? Do they fall to bits? No, they don't. Crocheting is a series of knots, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of knots. So you can quite easily snip it, and within a few mil is another knot, and then another one and another one. So they're really good. They just don't fall apart. Okay, let's get cracking. What I'm thinking of doing is snipping, fussy cutting this out. So this is about putting another layer of flowers through the piece. I'm thinking, so they've done two. Oh, okay. I'm just looking at the crocheting pattern. There's two petals joined together with a couple chain, but here is a different pattern where they've used quite a few chain stitches to join the petals, so giving it a 2x2 effect, which is different, I think, to this other one that caught my eye. Where was the other one? No. Sure there was another one in here. Yeah, this one here. Gosh, I love crocheting patterns. They're just so pretty. Look, completely different flower. Where this one, the petals have been brought together. So let's fussy cut a few out, and then we'll lay them in, and then I can toddle off and stitch them down. I still haven't decided what I'm doing with leaves. At the moment, I'm just focused on flowers. So we'll see if we even need leaves. I sort of don't want to detract either from my piece. So no decisions made. I know that annoys people out there that I fluff around, is the words, but I don't know what I'm doing until I turn the camera on and actually focus on the task. So if that annoys you, I'm probably not the girl for you. I know a lot of you enjoy chatting to me via yelling at the screen with suggestions. I can't hear you, but oh, I tell you, sometimes we all end up at the same point. Sometimes we don't. Or do I include the little bit at the end? Let's have a look. That would make a nice little detail at the end of those petals. These are readily available. See, even that little element there could be something one day. These crocheted tablecloths and table runners, not so much doilies. They're more placemat rectangular pieces. They are everywhere in our thrift stores. They're all mass produced from the 70s, 60s, 90s, 80s. Like, I remember going to linen parties and these were part of the catalogue range. And of course now they're very much out of vogue, but fantastic for what we're all doing, all these slow stitch projects. And it's quite surprising what you can pull from a piece of crocheting. That whole little element there is one little pattern where they've chain stitched across, and then they've got this little picot piece at the top. If you don't crochet, you won't know what the hang I just said there. I must give you an update on my crocheting. Now, remember at the beginning of the year, I've got a tall boy chest of drawers thing here that I transferred all my yarn into from my crocheting days. I was making heaps and heaps and heaps of blankets. So I've got lots of odd bods left, and I found a pattern, and the plan for this year is to crochet them all up into lap blankets and donate them to folks that are sitting in wheelchairs or sitting in a chair out of their bed. And I've been busy crocheting lots and lots of squares, and my mate Marianne has been joining them for me, so at least it's not such a epic task. I just have to keep those bits. It's not such an epic task, you know, doing the squares and then joining them. Oh, look at you. Oh, perfect. And I think I'm going to keep him the way he is. I might just tidy him up a little bit. Just going to go a little bit off camera and get all my little bits out here. Just going to neaten him. Get a little bit more defined shape. So yeah, blankets. So we've made quite a few, and quite a few have been passed on, which is great. I'm down to, I think, 2 cupboards of yarn left now. So I'm really pleased. So it's opening up some more space for storage. And I think what I'm going to do is pop in there a lot of my creations so that they're, you know, easily accessible. They're laying flat because it's quite a large, you know, drawer. And they're out of the dust. In my previous craft room, I had them all hanging on clothes hangers, and they were on a bar thing that I used to use in the laundry to hang wet washing up on. But this house, I don't have a door suitable for that. I've got like a glass slider, and then the other door is got a glass panel in it. So if you were in the next room, you'd be looking at this weird shaped hanging thing. So I can't really hang it. And that's where I thought, right, deal with all that yarn, get it made into something and into people's hands so that it's, you know, not just degrading in the cupboard. So that was my New Year's resolution, to turn them into blankets for people. I'm pretty happy with that. I think this guy, I might leave him for a minute because I have a feeling he's going to get too small, and I'm really loving this shape. So, and I sort of want to have them so that they're overlapping and working their way into this. It might be a case of some more stems need to be added. See how this one ends? We might pick that up and go out there, I'm thinking. What do I do with my string? That scissors has caught my finger as I was snipping, and now I have a tender spot. Oh dear. First world issues. Hey, re-sewers are snipping fingers and poking needles in, and oh my goodness, tell ya. Let's cut this guy out. He's going to be, oh no, we did. Where's my double one? There it is. Oh, I'm going a little bit loopy here. I'm going to cut another one of these out. I really like this shape. This time I'll cut him without the little bit on the end, which will give me a new flower shape, I think. I might change scissors because they are really nipping me. Let's go back to the old faithful ones. So these are Fiskars. They're actually available in the rose pruning category of the world. So technically you won't find these where you would find scissors. They are something that a florist would use to prune roses. So you need to get the word pruning into the description. I've linked it a million times in my description below. But I'm really happy with them. They are really good, solid scissors, shears. They're not really shears because they're a little bit shorter. The thing I like about them is this rubber insert here. It's gentle on the fingers. When you do a lot of fussy cutting, it can really wear your hands down, can't it? Yeah, don't think you'd want to be using those for fussy cutting. That point there was nipping me. Good for snipping the odd thread, which is probably what they're designed for, Corrine, not hours of fussy cutting lacy bits out of, cutting morsels out of things. These are really good. I've cleaned them up too. You'll notice in the next few videos for the next weeks, I was struggling with them because I'd got a bit of gum glue around them. So I'd go to cut and it was just doughy. There was nothing there. So I have cleaned them up. Oh, my videos coming up, they're going to crack you up. Now, if you recall, about a week ago, I mentioned that I'd left my iPad in Brisbane when I went down last to check the house and make sure everything was neat and tidy because it's on the market, as you all well know. We do have a contract on it. But the folks that are buying it need to sell a block of land, and that block of land had a house on it that they had a demolition job to go down, you know, and knock it down, and then it was ready to go. So I think that guy's going to go there. I think I need something bigger there. So so the latest is the house is now down and they're taking photos. So what's it, Wednesday for you? Photos on Friday, then they have a 3-week campaign. It'll go to auction. Fingers crossed it sells, and then we're unconditional and it's done. So then, of course, we've got to go back to Brisbane, pick up the last of our furniture bits that we left. Washing machines, I don't have two. Washing machine, dryer, the fridge is there still, a couch and a dining table, and an outdoor setting. Everything else came from a company that sort of filled the gaps because we took 90% of our gear out. And so, yeah, we've got to go back down and gather our goods and chattels, and I guess that's it. The deal is done. I'm just sort of looking at this overall. I need something here. I could probably, what do I do with my string? Did I have scrap cordage left? No. Let me just grab a piece. I'm sure I had some left. Maybe I used it all. Gosh, I'm all gone. I see I'm dithering. I'm just going to cut a piece of rope. And I want to get a branch out to here before it gets forgotten. So I'll just pin that. Really happy with that little guy out there. I feel like I need something here, but so maybe I can U-turn and catch, look at that straggly looking piece of rope jute, I think is what its term is. There we go. There we go. So what else is news in my world? Some of the videos I've pre-recorded. It's a bit hard to keep you up to date on what's, you know, happening because they're pre-recorded. So, but this one's very current. So hopefully the house will be finalised very, very soon. My iPad is back, but the videos tomorrow and pretty much for the next week or so are all on my phone, and oh, what a circus. I've had these pieces of rope. Let me just show you. So I'm getting sidetracked again. So to hold my phone to the arm that holds my iPad normally, you need a new clamp. I didn't have a clamp, so the girl just got herself a couple pieces of cord, tied herself a knot, and I've got 2 of them. That hung over the arm of the iPad arm, and the phone just balanced in it. Everything was going really well until a video that you'll see later in the month, and the cord has cast a shadow to the bottom of this screen. See how I've moved it up here? And you can't quite, like this is a very tricky camera in this iPad, so it makes it detailed. In the phone, being an older phone, this goes all blurry. So the whole video has this blurry blob in the corner. Oh, I couldn't believe it. And it was such a riveting video. I just couldn't delete it. I'm like, oh, they will not be surprised that that's happened. I'll let it go. So there's going to be a video coming that you'll go, ah, there's the blurry blob in the corner of her little rope hanging. I'm just putting it back on the arm of my my stand. It works so well that I dare not pull it down and use the cordage in some project, because it's my future. Corrine's forgotten her iPad somewhere and is now using the phone again, and she has to use her rope apparatus. What am I going to put here? I need a big flower. I don't want to repeat too much. What am I missing? Anything? So I've done him. What's in here? Hey, hello. He works. See, there's a good example of two of the same piece, but different colorways. So I'm a bit of a creamy, soft tone girl, so I like it when I get these sorts of off-white pieces. See, that to me is too small. Don't you think? I think it is. What was this guy? Oh, look, he's still attached. There you go. I'm not convinced. Maybe I don't need it. I don't think I need it. You know what my problem is this is a lovely feature, and then this is overpowering that if I go big. If it's too small, it looks like dots. Nope, don't need it. I think that's the trouble. I think once I iron this too and get rid of those circles, it'll give me a clearer image. I love that one there. I love that there. I love that there. Got something that could be out here. But once again, we're getting cloudy with, you know, it's too tizzy. I just want a hint of them. Maybe that's all I need. Unless I bring another branch up, but I don't really want to cover all of that. I think that's it, guys. Less is more. More is even better. Isn't that the rule? Doesn't really help you with thinking, does it? So let's put a little pin in these. So where was I with my updates? We've talked about the house. It's still percolating along. I've got some rugs to send on to their new owners, thanks to Marianne popping up for a quick visit with some in her little mitts, which is great. I'd say by Christmas I'll have my cupboard empty, which will be good. Marianne also borrowed my Sophie's Universe crocheting book and finished one for a friend, and it was beautiful. I'll show you that in a minute so you know what the hang I'm talking about. So what else was news? I think that's probably about it. It's nothing exciting happening here. Oh, I hurt my back, but technically not my back. Where's the needle and thread? I think it's time to stitch these down. The friends of mine in Hervey Bay have been propagating for me in anticipation that I would need some nice big plants, some elephant ears, which I've mentioned before on a previous video. Well, they dropped out 3 huge ones and 2 smaller ones. Huge, I mean, they're over my head. And they are 2-year-old, and she's been taking suckers off of them. So the 2 smaller ones are 1 year old, and they'd probably come up to my armpits in height when the pot's on the ground. So I was like beside myself. They were beautiful, very generous, and I've decided to use them around where Pepper and Bandit sleep. It's pretty much a roof, concrete, stone. We've got a bit of a wind barrier, but it's probably not enough if the wind comes from a certain direction. So the plan is to use them in pots just to help break that coastal breeze and even catch the coastal showers. Now, they don't get wet or anything, but if I was to completely enclose it, like you would imagine you would to stop the wind, you would have a hot box. So it's sort of a catch-22. You want your pets to be sheltered, but you don't want to shelter it too much that it's, you know, really hot. And we're definitely more summer than we are any other season. Very small winter. So I thought, well, I'll use plants to create a bit of a windbreak, which will still let the breeze in. It'll help green up that space. So the elephant ears are the start of that process. And I would say once I get those sort of settled in and they're going to survive, they will become my canopy, and I'll be able to play a little bit with ferns and things like that, I'm hoping. But I won't get into all of that just yet. I need to make sure that these elephant ears are going to be happy living in that environment. Gosh, I hope they are, because they look beautiful from my bedroom windows. Instead of looking at a colorbond fence, it's a part colorbond fence, so I can still see a little bit of the lake and then a couple panels of the fence. So that blocks neighbours out from seeing into our bedroom from across the lake, and then it opens up to just like pool fencing so that I can see the lake, but there's no houses in that direction. But that's where that little coastal breeze can come from. It's like a little southerly would have to come through. So these plants in the big pots are going to help me sort of protect the pooches, give me a bit of a green outlook, and maybe a lovely environment to grow some more like softer things, ferns and things. But we'll see. We will see. For those of you who've been following, and I did that little garden video, I decided on magnolias for the garden bed just off from the patio, which should grow to protect the backs of our neck when we're sitting at the picnic table from that western sun. It also breaks the wind a little bit from the west. Oh, there's so much to consider when you're starting a garden from nothing. You've sort of really got to get your head around where your sun is, your wind, what happens on a rainy day. So I've bought 4 teddy bear magnolias. It's not the standard big guy. I had him in Brisbane, and gosh, those trees, they started as little shrubs and ended up to be 5-metre tall trees. They were a very sparse spreading tree with huge magnolias, but this new variety, I'd say it's a hybrid of the standard, is called Teddy Bear. So he's got a dense foliage, which is beautiful. Not as many flowers. If he's really happy, he'll flower. I had one of those in the backyard in Brisbane just to see what he was all about. and very slow growing, but dense. So I end up getting 4, and I've put them about, not quite a metre apart. So 3 foot, probably be closer to it, 90 centimetres. And they should create a beautiful screen. I get flowers if I'm lucky. I think I will. There's plenty of sun there. And then break the wind. So I'm really pleased with those. I went to the local nursery and I think I was there on the Thursday, and they must have had a delivery on the Wednesday. I'm getting to know when the nurseries get their stock in, because they're the days I go, because then you get a good selection. If you leave it to the weekend, the crowds of people, you miss out. So you've got to get in early. So I've got to know when the trucks arrive from Brisbane with all of the plants for the locals. So that's when I go to town and have a little looky. So they had delivered 3 sizes of magnolias. There was a huge one, and I had a couple of those. And I said to the gentleman that who's actually the owner, I said, no, they're too big, too heavy. And he then said, well, I have the medium size, and they caught my eye. And then there was a smaller size, and I thought, oh gosh, it'll be years before they become even useful to me. So I went the medium size, and he had exactly 4. So they are in. The only thing I've got to do yet to those is I had to go back a couple days later and get myself some garden stakes, some big 1.8 metre garden stakes, because the wind is sort of blowing. Well, it's actually tamed down a lot now, but whether that's a winter thing and an autumn thing, I don't know. But the wind isn't around at the moment. But when I was watching them, they were wriggling a bit too much. They are staked in their pot, which has stayed with them, but it's just not strong enough. It's good for when they're in a pot. So I need to do that. I got myself some pots for the gifted elephant ears. And this is where the whole story is leading. I've hurt my back. As I said, not actually my back. I've just pulled a muscle, because you should have seen me. It's such a circus. I hugged the base of the elephant ears, like wrapping my arm around this trunk, which is like that, and then lifted up. I couldn't stand because I was low and bent in under this elephant ear plant. So now I'm bent over hugging a plant that is just heavy, and shuffling myself in that position over to where the new pot was, which, on reflection should have probably been closer to the action, but it wasn't. It was a good couple metres away. Lifting it up even higher again to get over the edge of the new pot and popping it inside the pot. Then filling it with soil. It took a whole bag of soil, so then I had to go back to the shed, get the next bag, and repeat. So yeah, the next morning, the girl couldn't stand. The moment she moved her torso, it felt like my body was ripping in half. Oh, I was so sore. And now Gaz has had a proper sore back for about a month and is starting to come good. So he's starting to get a bit more adventurous. And here I am, moaning and groaning like a big girl. And it's just muscular because of where it is. It sort of feels like it's on the side of my ribs. So I'd say I've pulled one of those muscles that wrap around your chest cavity. That's what it feels like. So, moaning and groaning. So I had a pretty quiet day, 2 days, where I just sat on the couch and watched movies, and I didn't even have any stitching to do. Like, everything needed a video for you guys to get me going on the next stage of stitching. And I couldn't move. I felt miserable. I didn't feel like talking to you guys. I didn't feel like planning anything to stitch. I just sat there. It's like the girl had her wings clipped and she was sulking. Oh, it's amazing how pain affects your mental health. It's incredible. Like the girl's usually, you know, out there all the time going for doing something, and it just knocked me on my butt. So the frustration of not being able to do the washing, clean the floor, anything, just anything to keep myself active. So anyway, we decided to put on a couple roasts that we had in the freezer left over from Christmas, because I thought, gee, we better hurry up and use them, because the year is, what is that thread? The year is ticking on. So I had a little pork roast, a little lamb roast, and we found the rotisserie bar that came with the barbecue, which we've never used, and thought, right, let's do it. So we put on these 2 roasts. Oh, I'll put a picture at the end of the video. I was so impressed. It really worked well. So now we have roast meat in the fridge cooked for dinners for the next month. Because it was just so much. There's only the 2 of us, so it'll take us a bit to munch through it all. But oh, it was good, really good. Watched a few movies. None of them are worth reporting about because they were pretty ordinary, but you know. Actually, the one with Mark Wahlberg, Daddy. Oh, I know what else I watched, which was not a bad watch. Napoleon. Ridley Scott's new movie. It's finally available on Apple iTV for free. It's been wanting to charge you for it for months. It's finally free. I loved it, thoroughly loved it. But I sort of connected to it due to my trip to France and saw a sneak glance into the hall that Napoleon had created to dedicate, you know, his image to the world. So I sort of knew a little bit about all that. Pretty violent movie. If you don't like gore, you would not enjoy it. But it is, you know, battles in the 1800s, so you imagine what they did to each other. So it was an interesting story. 2.5 hours later, and then after that, because it was so heavy, we watched the new Mark Wahlberg movie, and it's Daddy something. Daddy. I'm shocking with names. He is a undercover, well, he was an assassin, a government assassin, and then he was disillusioned with the direction that his team were going, as in becoming mercenaries. So he got out, and he's been hiding ever since, has created a family, the wife, the son, the daughter, and a newborn, and they find him. So they're on the run, and that's the premise of the movie. So, you know, standard sort of, you know, movie story. Gosh, you think they could give us something new. But I think they've run out of ideas. But it was good. It was very good. We had a giggle. And then I think it was about 8:30 by then, we started watching a sci-fi one, and I tuned out. I was straight onto my phone. I was checking out Instagram. May or may not have purchased a few items from Purveyor of Textiles. You know, allegedly may have visited, may have dropped a few, please, I'll take that one, comments on some listings. Oh my goodness, I'd sworn off that site because I'm spending too much money on vintage elements, and then pops back up and away she goes again. I must send Melanie a little message to say, how much have I spent? Because she'll hold the items for you. So I may have bought 2 things and they might have been $4 and $6. You think, oh, another $10. Surely I haven't spent too much. You know, 3 weeks goes by and you've got your pile with your name on it, and then you find out it's $110. It's like, oh, how did that happen? So one needs to be careful Otherwise you get bill shock. Oh dear. How are we going for time? Yippee yabber away, don't I? That's really good. Got lots to catch up with you guys. Well, sort of. Nothing exciting. What else have I been doing? Oh, so we've got our Roxy prompt coming out today for June, the last one. And did you hear the comment? I think it was Sarah said that on Thursday we will hear what the project is for the next volume, so the next 6 months. So for those of you who've been watching for a little while and haven't participated, here's your chance. It's coming up where you can join in. Who knows? Will it be a monthly thing, a weekly thing? Who knows? I'm sure those girls have come up with something. Oh, did you see Rachel's released her printed digitals on fabric? Oh, congratulations, Rachel. Fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's going to be so popular. I noticed that they sold out really quickly. Girl, get onto those 20-metre bolts of fabric, print them, chop them up, and get them out there because everyone's going to love playing with them. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about, Rachel from Roxy Creations has a large range of digital prints that you can print onto paper and use in journals, which we've been doing for some time. Well, she's finally settled on a printing house to turn them into panels that you can purchase and then use as maybe a background for a slow stitch to kick you off, or cut it up and use it in something and embellish it with bits and pieces. Yeah, very clever. I had visions of using it in so many ways, but it might take a bit for me to get my hands on some because they sold out so quick, which is fine. Rachel will get herself settled into the manufacturing of fabric. Oh, it's so good when small businesses grow into something even bigger and even bigger. Hang on for the ride, Rachel. You've got some exciting times ahead, I believe. So really, really cool. Can't wait to play with them. And also, I mentioned it in last week's video, Jennifer Clouston has her new book coming. So my copy is on its way from the publisher and I get to review it with you guys. Can't wait to have my little nose into that. I'm sure it'll send me off on all sorts of tangents and projects. I'm so pleased I have my botanical little diary where I just focus on Jennifer's style of stitching, because it just gives me small little projects I can do and then somewhere to keep it, which is within that little journal. So I'm sure once I get my hands on that book, I know a heap of you have it pre-ordered too, which is great. I spoke to Can Do Books, the Australian website. They will get their copies in August. So a little bit slower than the rest of some of those big guys, but yeah, if you can hang out for the little companies that are supporting Jennifer in your country, I'd recommend it. But others are taking pre-orders and just saying June, so which is probably end of June. Like, they're not being real specific. Booktopia and Amazon and all of those guys, and a lot of you have pre-ordered, so yours will come when available. They did want me to do a review on the 7th of June, which is Friday, but I had an email earlier in the week saying that they didn't quite realise that I was in Australia and that post might slow me down a little, which it will. I thought that was wishful thinking. So I'm hoping the book will be in my hand as soon as it can be, and then I'll do the review and get it straight up for you guys. So I think I mentioned it might be Friday, and Jennifer's inspired journal video I did last week. I'll believe it if I see it, to be honest. I think the postal service is going to delay it, so. But as soon as I have it, we will get it up for you guys. Okay, I'm just going to end this off. So what I might do now is I might grab those couple crocheted blankets that Marianne dropped back to me just to show you. But I think I've got a bit of homework here. I can go and stitch all my lacy elements, add that there. And I think in the next video we'll work on the centres of the flowers and start adding some embroidery to them. Oh, I need to do a little bit more stitching there. Look at that, it's flapping in the breeze. There we go. Oh, I've got an ear to do here. Plenty to do. All right, guys, I might pause the video and come back with my rugs to show you. Won't be a moment. Okay, I'm back. My rabbit's gone to the bench over there. He's been cast aside because I'm off on a tangent, giving you an update on the crocheting project. So beginning of the year, my New Year's resolution was to use up all my scraps into little squares. This is the willow pattern, and then make them into blankets suitable for someone who's sitting in a chair or a wheelchair. So not super huge, but goes down to ankles and tucks in under their thigh, so just as a nice little bit extra warmth for someone who is chair bound. So I've slowly been working through them. We've done a few blankets now and they've been gifted on, and I have two here that Marianne's just dropped back. So Marianne's my mate. She's a prolific crocheter. We both kicked off about the same time, and she's really delved into crocheting, where I've sort of gone off to, you know, the next adventure, which was YouTube, and that's a bit of everything. So what the plan is if I can get all the squares made when she's up visiting from Brisbane, she and I will piece them together into some form of design, depending on quantities of things. It's getting tricky when you've got one of things, and it gets tricky when you use a different brand of yarn and you get a slightly different square. So she's had to be creative, but so far we are down to probably 2 drawers of yarn left, which is great because I'd really like that chest of drawers to be useful for me to put, you know, completed projects in. So this is one of them back. Beautiful blue. Let me zoom up a little bit. I feel like I'm right up on you. There you go. Beautiful sea blue, and we paired it with the hot pink and then popped the cream, and then she's done a lovely border around the edge, so very pretty. So that one's ready to go, and this one, love this one. Black really makes them sing, doesn't it? Now this one we've had to work in the odd turquoisey one because we didn't have enough of these two, but then, you know, I go and find more yarn and we're like off on another pile of pink. So it's quite fun piecing together complementary, you know, combinations of colours. So that's 2 more completed. They're so beautiful. They've come up really well. And as she said, I've challenged her by giving her some that are slightly smaller than others. So she's had to, you know, really work in the extension of the square to make sure it all sort of fits. So, but she can handle it. Can't make it too easy for her, can we? Now, the other thing that Marianne has done for me, if you remember at the beginning of the year, I had started this blanket, probably, let me zoom up a little bit, probably about 4 years ago, and it's from the book Sophie's Universe. Now, I finished the blanket to this point. You can just sort of see it on her lap. So the next part of my process was to come out this way and do these triangular wedges, but it got put in the cupboard. YouTube started for me and I just have not got back. And the square that I did was like a decorative element over a chest of drawers, and then things were sitting on it. And I'm thinking, it's going to be forever a placemat. I'll never get this as a blanket. So I asked Marianne if she wouldn't mind finishing it for me, and she said yes, because she'd never had a play with this pattern. So she loved it, and she actually made a second one as a gift for one of her family members. Now, the beautiful thing about this, if you're a beginner and you're just starting to get your head around reading patterns, is it's also on YouTube. And you can see where I've written 1 hour, 10 minutes and 10 seconds is this step. 1 hour, 20 minutes and 52 seconds is this step. So I could read the pattern. If I thought I could figure it out, great. If I didn't, I could go to the YouTube series. And if I was to the point where I was a couple rows along and realised I'd jiggered it up, I had to unpull it, I could then go back because I'd written the timestamp down of where she kicks off this round 32. So just a bit of a tip, if you did decide to have a go at this glorious, glorious blanket, aren't the instructions really good? Really, really good. That's what made me have a go. I think from memory, there's another one that's called Sophie's Garden. I think, but I don't think it's on YouTube. Sophie's Universe is on YouTube. So yeah, if you're looking for your next project crocheting wise, I can highly recommend this one. And mine is finished, just in time for winter. We've been using it too. It's been sitting on our lap. Look at this. Look at that flower. Isn't it just beautiful? And then there's like little flowers. Look at the little tulips here. It's basically a garden. Look at this. Isn't that clever? Little chain stitches sitting across the top. It's got a beautiful edge on it too. It's different again. So they've come back in behind. Oh. So for you crocheters out there, you may already know of this pattern. For anyone who's new to crocheting, gosh, this is a good challenge for you. At least you've got a video series to back you up. So I got to here. There's the square, and then it starts coming out in these panels. Just beautiful. That is just so gorgeous. Crocheting along, and then you do this little bit, crochet back, do that little bit, crochet along, do this little grey bit. Just gorgeous. So there you go. There's the update on my crocheting and my finished Sophie's blanket. I'll pop some pictures at the end of the different pieces and my roast dinner that I was talking about earlier in the video. Oh, goodness me. All right, guys, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to toddle off and stitch my little crocheted pieces to my panel. You can see why crocheting is a big part of my work, because it just sort of all connects, doesn't it? All right, guys, say goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.